Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Goblin Vaults, a sort of bidding set collection spatial puzzler card game from designers Keith Matejka and Eric Schlautman and publisher Thunderworks Games. This game is actually set in the role-player universe. If you're familiar with their Thunderworks game Lockdown, this is sort of a card game that's played by the inmates in the prison of Lockdown, and it's kind of cool to see the sort of in-game card game become a real card game. But honestly, this is a game that was sort of off of my radar until I saw a playthrough over on the One Stop Co-op Shop by Jason, and it caught my attention and I thought I wanted to know more. So luckily I was able to get a review copy from the publisher, which means, disclaimer, this copy was given to me by the publisher, but as always I will do my best to offer my own honest opinion at the end of this video. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of Goblin Vaults, begin by choosing a player color. I will, of course, be playing with the purple character. I'll set that down here off to the side. And then we're going to choose two colors for the opponent. I'll just go ahead and give the other colors a shuffle, and we'll just take whatever ends up on top. So I will be playing against blue and yellow in this game, so we'll set those off down here as well. I'm leaving a little space because the game also comes with a very nice player aid that shows both the order of play, but more importantly, the final scoring breakdown. So I'm going to set this off down here next to my character as well. And then each player will also receive the matching faction marker of their color. So we've got yellow and blue for the AI opponent, and purple for me. Next, we're going to go ahead and set up the goal cards for the game, starting with the sort of main basic goal card. This is a two-sided card, collection and cluster. Jason at the One Stop Co-op Shop did use cluster in his video, so I'm going to use the opposite side and do collection for my playthrough. So I'm going to set that up here. And then in this game, there are 6 different suits of cards, and each of those suits also has a goal card that goes with it, and these are all double-sided as well. So I'm going to give these a shuffle, and we're going to choose 2 at random, and while I'm shuffling, I'll flip them over a bit so that we can mix up which sides of the cards we're using as well. And for this playthrough, it looks like we will be using Seeker's Light and Copious Coffers. So we'll go ahead and lay those out up here as well. And then finally, we have to set up the loot card deck for the game. And when you play the solo game, you will be playing with 4 different suits. I showed you there are 6 suits in the game, but we can choose any 4 suits. However, 2 of those suits must be the suits matching the goal cards that we've chosen. So we will start, of course, with the yellow suit and this brown suit. And then hopefully to make things stand out on camera, I'll go ahead and use the red crown suit and this blue bottle suit. Now, of course, each of the different colored suits also has a symbol matching that suit, and those symbols are very different. So even if the colors do look similar, each of those symbols is very different, so you will be able to tell them apart. And now very quickly, each of these suits is going to have 10 cards, numbers 1 through 10. And we're going to go ahead and shuffle these 4 decks together to make our loot deck. Once the loot deck has been assembled, we're going to deal out 10 cards for us and 18 cards for the AI. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is me. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 for the AI. We'll then deal 3 rows of cards, or 3 columns of cards. And I say columns, but they're just 3 cards for right now. We're going to be playing below these cards. And then finally, one last card up top here. This is going to be called the Warden card, and I'll explain what that means in just a minute. And then finally, the remaining cards can just get placed up here next to the Warden card. I'll go ahead and clean up a little bit. This is the deck of cards for the AI. And these are my cards. I'll show you those cards in just a minute. But to finish setup, we're going to place out these gear tokens. And we will start with 3 of those gear tokens. And the AI will start with 10 of those gear tokens. The last thing you do need to do as part of setup is to play out one card from your hand to sort of set up your vault that you're going to be playing into. But before I do that, let me go ahead and explain how the game works so you understand why I make the choice that I do, and then I'll go ahead and get into gameplay. So a solo game of Goblin Vaults is going to play out over 9 rounds, and in each round we're basically going to be bidding over the 3 cards that are here in the center of the table. First, the AI will play out one card below one of these, then I will choose to play one card below one of them, and then the AI again will play out one more card below one of these 3 cards. And I'll explain how that works better as we get into our first turn, but the point is, whoever has the highest numbered card will take the card that we're playing or bidding on. And anybody else in that column that doesn't have the highest card will take actually the card that they used to bid into their own collection as well. And then once you've taken the card yourself, you're going to place it into your vault. And I mentioned the vault before, but the vault is going to be at maximum a 4 across, means 4 column and 3 row block of cards. And why are we doing that? Well, we're doing that in order to score points based on the 3 goals of the game. So let me explain how that works. The first goal we will be using for this game is the collection. And this says we're going to score each chamber. Those are the vertical columns that have at least 2 cards with the same value. And if I have 2 cards with the same value in a column, I'll get 4 points. And if I have 3 cards with the same value in a column, I will get 9 points. Next, we have the Seeker's Light. And we're going to score each tier. Those are the horizontal rows that have at least 2 of this type of card, or this suit of card. And if there are 2 in a tier, we get 5 points. 3 in a tier gets 9, and 4 in a tier gets 16. So I want to have as many of these brown cards in horizontal rows as possible. And then finally, the last goal we will be playing with in this game this time is Copious Coffers, which says for each chamber with at least, again, column, with at least 1 gold card, we're going to add up the value of the cards, and each chamber that has 15 or more value will score. More than 15 gets 3 points, and more than 21 gets 7 points. So I'd like to get some big number yellow or gold cards into my vault. So again, over the course of 9 rounds, we're going to be bidding on these cards, drawing these cards. The AI will simply create a pile of them. They're just going to be scoring on the pile of cards they've got, but we will be building our vault. And at the end of the game, we're going to score points based on our vault. And the way we're going to do that, I'll show you right here based on this card. The first thing is you will notice that the loot cards we're adding into the vault have a symbol up here in the top corner with one of these 3 cards darkened in. And that's going to be sort of the position this card would like to be in our vaults. And if you get the matching position in the first tier, you'll score 1 point. Matching position in the second tier, 2 points, and matching position in the third tier will get 3 points. In addition, we're going to score 2 points for every one of these symbols in our vault that matches our player symbol, which happens to be this sort of purple arrows. And then, of course, we will score points based on the goals that I just showed you. Now, for the AI, they're not really trying to get the goals because the goals are too confusing for a sort of randomized AI to score. So what they're going to be doing instead is they will be scoring their own symbol, but they have 2 of them. They're yellow and blue. And they'll be scoring a number of points based on the difficulty level we are playing. If we're playing sort of easy mode, they'll score 2 points per matching faction icon. Normal will be 3 points, and the hard mode would be 4 points per icon. And then in addition, to make up for not scoring these goals, they're simply going to score 1 point for every banner on a card they have that matches one of these 2 suit types. So that's basically it for the flow of the game. The only other thing we haven't talked about is this Warden card up here. And the Warden card is going to work like this. Whatever suit is shown on this Warden card is going to be a trump suit, which means when you're bidding on the cards, you want to have the highest card to bid on that card. But any card of that trump suit will automatically be higher than any other suit. And of course, if there's more than one card played of the trump suit, you're aiming for the higher card of that suit as well. But in addition, anytime I play a card that matches that trump suit, whether I win the card or not, as soon as I play the card as a bid, I get to take a Warden action. And a warden action is going to let me do one of two things. First, it will let me relocate one card in my vault to a different location in my vault. And we didn't mention this yet because you haven't seen how the vault is building, but we're going to have to play any card we take can only be played in the first tier unless there's already a first tier there, and then we can play in the second tier. And likewise, if there's already a second tier card there, we can play in the third tier. So using the warden action, one of the choices is to move a card to a different location in the vault, following all normal placement rules. The other option is we can discard a card from our hand to the bottom of this deck and take the top card of this deck into our hand, sort of refreshing and hopefully getting a card that's better than a card we don't really need in our hand. And then finally, at the end of every round, before we start the next round, I have the option to switch this warden card with any of the 3 cards that are here on offer. So we can basically effectively change the suit of the warden card, or we can sort of protect the card that we want to have later and leave it here so that the AI doesn't take it, and then we can swap it back out when we do need that card later in play. So let me go ahead and get started with gameplay. I will explain a little bit some more of the smaller details as I actually play through them. So again, to start the game, I need to choose a card from my hand to start my vault. And we'll see that as I mentioned, I'd like to place a card that has this top tier symbol in the top tier if possible. Lots of brown in a tier is good. Matching numbers in chambers or columns is good. And gold, high numbers of gold in columns is good. So let's see. I got lots of brown in my hand. Wow, I got lots of brown in my hand. I don't have any gold. So I think I'm just going to start with, remembering I do want to keep some high numbered cards, which I seem to have a lot of, in my hand to sort of win bids with. I'm going to start with this 5. It doesn't match my suit, but it does start in a top tier. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that here for right now. And we'll rearrange things as needed. This might be the first, second, third, or fourth column, depending. This time I'm not playing with any goals. Some of the goals score on straights, like 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. This time I'm not doing that. So realistically, there's no reason that this doesn't start automatically in the left spot, and we'll build in like that. All right, so first things first, the AI is going to bid their first card. And the way they do that is they flip over the card, and they'll look down here in the bottom right corner, and you'll see this number 1 icon is sort of highlighted, which means they're going to be bidding on that first card. So they bid a 1 on this card. That's a very low number, so I don't really care. But I have now the ability to bid on a card. Looking at these cards, this is a top tier card. This is another brown, which could be nice to have. And this is a bottom tier, low gold. I don't really care too much about that. Also, 5. That's tricky because that 5 and that 5 would be nice to have in the same chamber for my collection, but they both score top tier. So we'll see. I may end up moving something around later. But I want this card because it's top tier. It's a fairly large gold card. It's not super high, but it's high-ish, and it would definitely help me get towards that number. And it matches my symbol, so I'm going to get extra points for that. Plus, if I let the AI lose this column, they're going to take that card. And that card doesn't match either of these, and it doesn't match the AI symbol, so I'm happy with that happening. So I'm going to play here. Now, I don't want to go too low because there's a chance that the AI's next card is also going to come out here on this card, and I'd rather that didn't happen. But I also don't want to waste anything super high so that we have more options in future. So I'm going to play my 6 blue in that spot. Hold on, let me think about this for a minute, because whatever I play here is, if I win, will become the next card here. So it might be something I want in my sort of row. And sure enough, I've got a mid-level 5 that would be really nice to have. So I'm going to cross my fingers and play there and hope they don't play another card in that same spot with a high number, but let's see what happens. AI plays. Good. All right, so they're playing to 3. This is a huge number, but that's great because it gets rid of it. But also this huge number is my symbol, which is also pretty cool. Again, big numbers don't matter in this game right now because the only big numbers I care about are gold, but they're going to play there. And I already forgot, I'm sorry, when we play these out, we should be marking them with our faction, like that, so we know whose card is who. Also, we didn't see it this turn, and I'm sure we will later on, but anytime you want to bid a card that's less than the card that's already been bid, we are going to need to play one of these gear tokens to that card in order to allow ourselves to bid low. Because basically what that's doing is it's buying our ability to take a card of our own instantly back into our vault. All right, so that's the end of the bid phase. After we're done bidding, any card that hasn't been bid on will get a gear placed on it, and then we will resolve. So we've got a 1 and a 5. I win this one because 5 is bigger than 1, so they're simply going to take that card into their collection. And I think we have space, so I'm just going to leave that there. And then I win this one, so I take this card. I'm going to have to place it in my vaults soon. And this slides up there. And then nothing happened there. We placed the gear there. Blue will take this card, which is a bit of a shame because this is gold and it matches their symbol. So they will score quite a few points on that card, but that's okay. And I'm going to place this 5 as the next top tier in my set. Now, do I want to protect anything, block anything, keep anything? And I think the answer is yes. But if I swap that with that gold is really nice to have too. I only want this 5 because it's mid-tier and it builds a collection. But, yeah, we want browns and tiers. We want big gold. That is big gold. Yeah, I'm going to leave it the way it is right now. I want that 5 or that 8. Let's see what they do first. All right, they're bidding a 4 in the first column here. Then I can try to beat them, which gives them this 4, which is cool because they score nothing off of that. But already they score nothing off of this. I wouldn't mind an 8 to go in a second tier to start another row of brown. But if I want to score these, I'm going to need something big here. I need a 10 there if I want to hit a 15. But I can put the brown there. All right, let's look at that. This is also not bad because of the purple symbol, but I don't really care because that doesn't score them points either. So I want to focus on that because that is their symbol. All right, so I'm going to play fairly high, but not super high. But that's an 8. No, I don't want to do that yet. I'd love to have a gold middle, but I don't have anything great. I'm going to play something I don't care about that doesn't match their suit. They're yellow and blue. So, wow, I got lots of yellows and blues. I think I don't care about this 10 brown. Although, yeah, I got lots of brown cards. And we only need number of cards, not color of cards. Yeah, all right, so let's do that there. Yeah? No, that's too high. I don't want to waste a high card. I see. I'm going to play that. That is their faction. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to hope that this goes here, and I might swap it with that gold so that I can take that gold card. But we'll see what happens. They play out their card. They're in column 3 over here. So we're all split again. Then nobody places tokens up here because they've all been bid on. Yellow takes this card here, and that slides up. I will take this card here, which gets me the gear alongside it, and I'll place that in a minute. And then blue will take this card here, like that. And now I've got to place this 8, which I will do by, yeah, I'm going to stack it here. Because again, I want to keep some gold in this. If I can get this high point gold, that would be great. Then, next round. But before we move into the next round, yeah, that's a gold and their symbol. But that would be nice for me to have. Another high gold here. Yeah, I like it. Well, let's keep that as a real option. All right, I'm gonna bid on that. We'll see what they do. They take a 2, so they're bidding on that 6, which it is their symbol, but it doesn't match this. So yeah, I'd rather they got that. But I'm not fighting over this 6 because I really don't need it. I wouldn't mind an 8 to match that 8, but we'll see what happens. I'd like this 9. I got another 9, which would match that number, and is my symbol, and fits in the center tier, and this is top tier. So I'm gonna play that 9 there. And then they play the 10 in the second slot, which goes here, which is outbidding their first card, which is perfectly okay. And I did it again, sorry. Like that. Nobody bid here, so that gets placed there. Then, this one gets outbid and comes here. This one takes the bid there, so that slides up, and this comes over. And I get this 9, like that. And I will start a new column or new chamber. That is a top tier, yay. It is a high gold, which means I have a good chance of getting more there. Then, I really want this brown because it matches my symbol. I can put it in a middle tier, and it will match the 9 if I put it with the 9. Yeah, let's do that. All right, then, looking at my cards, I don't really care. I'd like to play something that doesn't match theirs. I don't think I'm gonna match this 5 or this 8 right now. So, I'm gonna play that 10. Whoops, hold on. First they play, and they got slot 1. Then I'll play that 10 there. They take their turn as a 7, and they're supposed to be playing on 1. Okay, so what happens here? This is the same number, and neither one of them is the trump suit, which means this is an underbid because it's not overbidding. Normally they would place a gear here and stay there, but in the solo mode, anytime the AI underbids themselves, they will instead move to the next slot. So they're going to come here instead. So everything again has been bid on. AI gets this card and slides up. Again, they get this card sliding up. And I will take this brown 9 sliding up. Now, I'd like to stick with this. And I want to, no, I'm not doing that. I want to get the double here. So we're going to put that there, like that. So I do have 2 browns in that chamber. If I got a third one, or sorry, tier. If I got a third one, that's great. Now remember, we are playing 9 rounds, and this full thing is 12. So there's going to be 3 empty spaces, so we can't finish everything. But none of these say a full chamber or full tier. So we're okay with that. If I put the 7 gold here, I don't score on the middle piece, but that would make that 15 and score. So that could be worth it, but let's see what else comes out. Right now, of these, I would like this 10 at the bottom because it's a bottom card and could potentially... Hold on, before we start bidding, I could switch this yellow and brown and place this 7 here, but that's still only 12 and we need 15. So I would need to get 1 more gold card coming out of there. And I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, let's bid on this 10. Although I don't really love some of the cards that I've got. If I put another 9 there, we could get 16 points. That's nice to have. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. We could get 9 points instead of 4 points. But that's not a bottom row 9. Yeah, I'm going to bid on... I don't need that 7. But that would score me 2 points and potentially, no, that's not worth it. All right, I want that 10. So I'm going to bid this 8, like that. Yes. Wait, hold on, first them. They bid in 1. Means I don't mind this 8 there. They bid again at 2, so we're split again. Then, that means they take this here, they take this here, and I take that one there. And now I gotta place this in. I don't really care if it goes here or here, except this one could potentially get gold on it. So we're gonna play here. The only reason I might not play there is if I put the 8 there, but that's okay. Because right now I want this 2, because this 2 is going to add a second brown in the top row. And it's got my symbol on it, and it's a top scoring card. I like that. So I want to play high-ish on that card. I'm going to play, whoops, hold on again. They go first, placing in 3. I want that card there. The problem is if they go here, they're going to get 2 yellow cards, and that brown matches there. But there's a chance they go here. If they go here, they're going to wrap back to there. So they're playing on 2. All right, so here we go. Here's your first underbid. They are underbidding on my card, so they're going to place one of their own gears on my card. And what that means is, you'll just see in a second, we're going to add this gear here because nobody took it. I get this card, and I'm going to place it there as I said I would. And my card goes there. And then they simply take their own card, which is great for me because that doesn't match symbol or any of that stuff. And then they take this card for this placement. All right, so I only have 3 more placements that are coming. If I place that 7 down here, I would get 3 points. If I placed the 6 down here, I would get 3 points plus a card 2 tier would be another 5 points. Yeah, I want that card badly. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to swap this card with this card. And let me explain. There's a couple reasons I want to do that. Number 1, this symbol is their symbol. They'll score. This one is not, so they won't. Yay. Means they also don't get this gear, which is great. But also now this is the trump card. And I see 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. And I have the 1 and the 3. So the only one that's out there still is the 7. So if they play a 7, I'm in trouble. But otherwise, and they may already have come out, otherwise, I can win with single 1 card as trump. So they're going to play their card to 3. Now again, I want that card. So I'm going to play this, which does beat that 3 because it's the trump suit. And then they play out their second card, which is the 7, but I got lucky because they're playing it over here. So we add a gear again to that 9. And they take this 7, which I set them up with. It does give them points for that, but that's only 1 point versus 3 points. This one, nothing happened. I get this 6, which I'm going to put down here in the bottom. Whoops, that was not me. Whoops, huh? Oh yeah, that's me, that's right. Okay, this goes here. And then they take their own card back, which is their symbol, which hurts me a little bit, but we'll see. I think we're doing well. All right, we've got 2 more rounds left. If I leave that there, I still have trump. But this is bottom tier, this is top tier, this is top tier. I'd love to put one in one of these spots because this is also top tier. It would get me, instead of having 5 points, I'd get 9 points. But none of them are my symbol. None of them score for the right tier. I do, however, have this 3 that does score middle tier and would get me that extra point. So I think I'm going to try and underbid this turn, and we'll see what happens. They play here with a 1. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Then, yeah, this is a shame, but I'm actually going to bid, I'm going to bid this 3 here. That's the faction suit that matches, or the suit that matches. Means I get to take a warden action. And if I move this one here, I lose my 3 points, but I pick up 4 for being in the row like that. And then if I put this 9 down here, that adds a second 9, which means I get 9 points instead of 4 right there. So that's going to work out well for me, I think. They play on the 3rd card. So they'll take this 7 lantern, which is a problem because that matches twice. I get this one, which gets me some gears, and I'll play that 9 right there. Sliding up like that. They take this card right there. Sliding up like that. And we move into the final turn of the game. Now, if I put a 4th card there, I get a bunch of points, and that's tier 2. I need that card. Problem is, all I got left is this 4 blue. So let's see how it plays out. They're playing 3 over here. I'm going to play there and cross my fingers. If I take this 4 blue, that's not great, but at least I can put it bottom tier and get 3 points. And they will play on slot 2 and, of course, beat me. We place a gear here, but it's not going to matter because this is the end of the game. They win this one, so they take that 3, which gives them lots of points and makes me sad. I'll just take this 4, but again, I can place it down the bottom here, so at least it scores for being in the 3rd tier. And then they take this gold card here. All right, so then we move into scoring. First, we'll start with my stuff. We're going to start with the gear tokens, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gear tokens, so that's 6 points. Plus, we're going to score based on tier cards that are in the correct tier. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, so that's 6 points. Here I've got 1, that one's in the wrong spot, and 3 makes 4 points. Here I've got 1, 2, and that one's in the wrong spot for 3 points, and that is 1 for 20. Now we've got 2 per icon that matches my faction card, which is here 1, 2, 3 for an additional 6 points. And then we're going to score the gold cards. This says 2 for each chamber with the same value. That one doesn't have any matching. That one doesn't have any matching. This has all 3, which gets me 9 points. And this one is a single card, so it can't have matching. Now we are looking at tiers that have at least 2 brown cards. This one has 2, which gives me 5 points. This one has 3, which gives me 9 points. And the bottom one only has a single card, so that doesn't get me any more. And then finally, this gold says for each chamber with at least 1 gold, sum the values of the cards and have a sum of 15 or more. Unfortunately, I only got those 2, which is a 5 and a 9. So we don't score any points there. And we finish with a final score of 49 points, which, to be honest, is a fairly low score. So let's see how the AI opponent did. We start with their gears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then, because we are playing on the normal mode, we are going to score 3 points for every card that matches yellow and blue. So let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Puts them at 31. And then 1 point for every brown or yellow card in their deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So with their 10 plus 21 plus 6, they get a final score of 37. So even with that 49, we were able to win. And realistically, even if we played on hard mode, which would have given them 4 points for every matching card, they again had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So an additional 7 points would have been a 44. So we actually won on hard as well. All right, so while we're down here, we'll take a look at the components. First, the card quality here is very nice. The illustrations on these cards are beautiful. This really does feel like it's in the world of Role Player. If you've ever played any of the other Thunderworks Role Player universe kinds of games, this definitely feels like it's in that universe with the symbology and the illustrations, the characters. I love the design of the characters in this game, and it certainly does feel like it fits into that world. The symbology is all very unique, very easy to understand and recognize, both the faction symbols and the suit symbols. The colors for me are great, but again, I'm not colorblind, so I can't say, but you might have problems with blue and purple or normal red and green kind of colorblindness issues, but again, all of the symbology is super clear, so it shouldn't be an issue even if you are colorblind. These tokens, I mean, they're just normal punch board, but nice, thick quality, good components. And these wooden faction markers, really there's no reason they needed to be wooden. They could have just been big punch board as well, but I love wooden pieces in my games, and these are very nice, chunky wooden pieces, so I'm happy to have them in there. The only other thing you didn't see that's in the box is the first player marker, but since the play order is special in the solo game, you don't really need it, but I do love that iconography. That is the same as the back of the cards. Everything here, component-wise, very, very, very happy, very pleased with this game. One more thing, I didn't use it in the video, but it does also come with a score sheet that helps walk you through the scoring, and there's quite a few sheets here, so you've got a lot of play in this game. Now, granted, the solo scoring for the AI is not listed here, which is why I didn't use it, but it would be a nice way to do scoring if you choose to use them. And again, always nice to have it in the box. And then finally, the last thing in here, actually I might as well show you while we're here, the cards. There's a green suit and this black suit are the other two suits we didn't play with in this game. The other thing, again, is just the insert. This is a small box game. If you've ever played Cartographers, also from this same company, it's the same size box as that. Insert, non-existent, it's just a trough, one of those sort of cardboard troughs that's usually really there to hold things during shipping. But honestly, it's a deck of cards, some tokens, and some of these things. There's really not any real need for an insert, and realistically the box could even be smaller, but it is a standardized size and I understand why they went with it. I'm just glad they didn't go with a bigger box than this, so kudos to them for that. That's pretty much it for the components. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. This is a game, as I mentioned up top, that I had initially heard nothing about, but as soon as I saw it played, I realized I definitely needed to try it out, and there were a couple reasons for that. The first one is that this game has at its core a bidding mechanism, and generally I tend to be not a fan of pieces of games that are played above the table, meaning that require some kind of discussion or social discourse that takes you out of the actual physical game that's being played on the table. But something I really enjoy about solo modes is when somebody is creative enough in such a way that they can turn a mode that shouldn't work or a game mechanism that shouldn't work as a solo game and then somehow transition that into a solo experience. So when I saw the fact that this game, which does have a bidding mechanism in it, had created a solo mode that maintained the sort of normal game flow in some way, I was very, very excited to figure out if that was actually possible and how well they actually had accomplished that and just how it was done in general. The next thing is Thunderworks and Role Player universe, right? There are several games in this universe now. Of course, the original Role Player with the 2 expansions, Lockup, Cartographers, Role Player Adventures. Role Player Adventures I still haven't played, but I really, really, really want to get that played, or at least find a way to get that played because it looks really cool. But anyway, I was a really big fan of the original Role Player. The expansions made the game even better. Cartographers as well is one of my absolute blank and right games. Lockup, I didn't connect with as much, really. I am a fan of worker placement. I do like the designer of that game, and I've liked quite a few of his games after that. But that one, again, has a bit of a social discourse kind of bluffing mechanism in the multiplayer game. And it may be that that didn't translate well to solo, or maybe it was just a mechanism that I wasn't real fond of. It was a game that I enjoyed playing, but ultimately it didn't do enough for me to really get into it. But that's beyond the point. The point is, I enjoy role player. I enjoy the world that's been created here, the characters, the art, the graphic design. It all works for me, so I was interested to see the next game in that line. And the third thing here is the spatial puzzle. If you watched any videos on my channel, you probably get the idea now that I do really enjoy these spatial puzzler kind of games that give you goals that score based on where you place things and how those things are placed next to other things, and these sort of interaction of pieces in a tableau or in some kind of player area, and this had that. So the combination of the uniqueness of a solo bidding game, the Thunderworks role player universe, and then finally the spatial puzzler concept, all of that together made this a game that I really did want to get to my table and see how it plays and see how I felt about the game. And ultimately, it's happy news. It's good news. I do really enjoy what's going on in this game. The mechanisms here are pretty creative, pretty interesting. Let's start with that bidding mechanism, since that's where I started. And yeah, it is a bidding mechanism in the multiplayer game where you're bidding one of your cards to try and get a card from the 3 available cards to then add into your tableau or vault to work towards those end game scoring goals. And the bidding here is interesting to me because even in the multiplayer game, this is a bidding game that the bidding actually sort of happens in-game. Meaning, this isn't a discussion at the table. This isn't like an auction kind of bidding where I'm placing a bid down and somebody else is trying to outbid me by spending more or spending less and those kinds of things. This is simply, I'm choosing a card to play the card and the high card takes the card. And realistically, it's more of a sort of trick-taking mechanism than it is a bidding mechanism. But it's interesting because I'm playing a card. Now, you don't have to play on suit like you would in a trick-taking game, but the highest card played takes the trick. And the reason I say it's kind of like a trick-taking game is because then you also have that warden card, and that warden card is offering a trump suit. So that if I play a card in the trump suit, that's automatically higher than anything in any other suit, and then that normal sort of hierarchy exists numerically within that trump suit. And that's a really cool idea here because you really are just taking a card from your hand and playing it. So it's not about trying to play the table as much as it is trying to use the cards in your hand to the best of their sort of efficiency throughout the game like you would in a trick-taking game. And that is something that I do actually enjoy quite a bit. But then there's sort of another layer on top of that with the warden cards, other things, other abilities, other uses. And there's 2 of those. One of them doesn't really relate to the bidding, but that is that when I play a card in the trump suit, I can also then rearrange things in my tableau or swap a card with the deck just to hopefully get another card that's more meaningful or more useful in my hand. And those are cool powers, but again, that relates more to the spatial puzzle tableau building piece of the game, so we'll put that to the side for a minute. But the other really cool thing about this warden, which does affect the bidding quite a bit, is that at the end of the round, in the multiplayer game it's whoever won that bid, but in the solo game it's always me because I'm the only human player at the table, you get to have the option to swap that warden card with one of the 3 cards that are on offer in that sort of round. And that's a really big deal because that does 2 things. Number 1, it lets me switch the trump suit. So if I have some low-numbered cards in my hand that are useless at the beginning of the game, it could be that mid-game there's a card in the sort of available cards that matches that suit. And then I can swap that with the warden card, and now suddenly all of those low-numbered cards aren't so low-numbered anymore because they are in the trump suit. And that's a really cool ability that I'm not just playing numbers now, I'm actually playing the game to set things up so that my numbers work in better ways moving forward in the game. And that's a really cool addition. But also, swapping that card is effectively protecting that card from being won in that bidding round. So if there's a card that I see that does better sort of in a bottom area of my tableau, and I don't want to place it in the middle or in the top, but I would love to have it later in game, I can swap it with the warden card and leave it in that warden position. And then it's acting as the warden for the time being, but then later on I can swap it back again. And then what that means is in that future round when I swap it back, then I can potentially win that in a bid, and then I get to place it lower in my tableau area, scoring points based on sort of lower tiers or other abilities based on where it's been placed that I was sort of planning for in the future. And I think that's a really, really, really cool thing here. One more thing on the bid, too, is the underbidding concept, right? It's not just about bidding to win the card, because it might be that none of the cards out there are cards that I really want for my tableau. And or it might be there's a card in my hand that really, really, really will work for my tableau, but it's a low number, which means that I probably don't win the trick with it, and therefore it's probably not going to get me what I want it to get me right then and there. So instead, we can do this thing that's called underbidding, where I put down my card and I have to pay 1 point to get the ability or to be able to use that ability. But what that means is for the cost of 1 point, I can stick that card in that's lower than somebody else's card, intentionally knowing that I won't win that bid and I won't get that card that's being offered. But instead, I'll take that card that I played and put it directly into my vault or directly into my tableau, scoring points, potentially big points, because that's why I'm doing that in the first place. I'm not going to underbid just to not get something. Underbidding is going to be done because I have something really cool in my hand that I want in the vault, and not to give the potential chance to somebody else to take away from me. And I thought that that addition makes for a really, really cool sort of puzzle that you're going through, not just bidding, but figuring out if those cards aren't the greatest, what do I have in my hand that I might try and get instead? And I really, really like that idea. Now, the second thing I mentioned was the Thunderworks thing. This is Thunderworks Universe. The art in here is great. The components in here are great, but I talked about all that in the components section already, so let's skip on to the third point, and that is the spatial puzzle. I do really enjoy what this game is doing. It does a lot of what some other games do as far as where the cards get placed, score you different points, but they sort of layer it on in a bunch of different ways that I really, really, really appreciate. First, you start off with the sort of basic gold card that is one of two sides that's either going to be matching numbers in a column or sequential numbers in a column. But then you've also got 6 different suits, and you're going to be playing with 2 suits worth of goal in the game, and all of those are double-sided. So you've effectively got 12 different endgame scoring goals on top of the 2 scoring goals that you always play with, or one of 2 scoring goals that you always play with. And that gives a huge variability of the different number of combinations of endgame scoring goals that you might be playing with in any given game. And that really adds to the sort of difference in feel and flavor that you get every time you play the game, because I might be trying to string a chain of numbers. I might be trying to get a high number and a low number to score the difference in numbers. I might be trying to start and end a row with the same color. There's all different kinds of combinations of how these cards get placed and how they score based on not just where they're placed, but how they're placed in interaction or in combination with other cards that are being placed. And this is the kind of spatial puzzle game that I really enjoy. So to have this many different variable endgame scoring goals is great. But then on top of that, to also have your own faction symbol that you're scoring off of, which means that there might be a card that doesn't do great for you, but you'll take it anyway to get those 2 points for your faction symbol. And then that each card also has a sort of location, rank location in the tableau where it wants to be placed, either in the top row, the middle row, and the bottom row. And those score more as they like to be lower in the tableau, right? So the third rank or the third tier cards score 3 points, whereas the first tier cards only score 1 point. So you really do want to get those bottom cards slotted in the right place, whereas the top cards don't matter as much, but they're easier to do because you can just place right there at the top. So you're trying to place cards in the right location up and down, but then you're also trying to place cards in the right location based on your scoring goals. You're also trying to pick out cards that have your faction symbol on them. And then how you place them matters too, because you can only place in the top row, and they only go 4 across. And you can only place lower if you've already placed something higher in that column. And that column, again, can only go 3 down. So you're limited to a 3x4 or a 12-card grid, and you're only ever going to take 9 cards. So there are going to be 3 slots that aren't full. Do you leave a whole column empty? Do you do 2 full rows and just 1 extra card at the bottom? There's a whole lot of differential play depending on which goals you're playing, because some goals require a full tier or require a full column, whereas some of them don't really require anything except that you have specific things in that column or row. And it just really does change up the way the game plays and feels every time I play this game. And I really appreciate that combination of really interesting bidding mechanism, or kind of trick-taking-esque bidding mechanism, with this somewhat unique spatial puzzle based on location but interaction and changing goals every time. All of these mechanisms coming together make for a really fun game, and it plays out very quickly too, which makes it just a whole lot of fun to just pull out and play through. Now, all that said, let's talk more specifically about the solo mode, because I said one of the things that brought me here was the ability for a solo mode to do a bidding mechanism well. And I think for the most part it does. I haven't played this multiplayer yet, but I do feel like it's not going to be that much different. Now, of course, I can kind of watch what an opponent is doing and predict some of the things they might bid on and predict some of the cards they might be interested in. And you don't get that with the AI because their bid is based on a card flip. But the way that it's set up, that the AI flips first and you see what it bids on first, and then you make your decision and then it bids again, does lead to some really cool decisions, because it does give me the ability to underbid if I want to. It does give me the ability to think about, well, if they're going there, the other card's not going to underbid them there, so they'll move somewhere else. And you just get this nice feeling of, well, I know this much information, so I've got 50% chance of being right, and then I'm going to push my luck for the rest of it. And I think that feeling is pretty good, and it's pretty similar, at least what I'd expect that it would feel like in the multiplayer game. So I think they did a really good job. Where the solo may or may not shine for you is going to be in the scoring. I have played this game 6 times now, and of those 6 times, I played them all on normal mode, and I've won 5 of those 6 times. Now, if I had calculated for the hard difficulty scoring instead of the normal difficulty scoring, that would probably have been about 2 or 3 losses rather than 1 loss. But even still, at the hardest difficulty offered in the game, to be winning 50% of the time seems like a pretty high percentage to me. That sounds like more of a normal / easier kind of difficulty to me. And it's not a big deal realistically, because I still really enjoy the puzzle and the sort of thought process and just the fun of churning through this game, because the mechanisms are a whole lot of fun to play with. And I am still competing, and I have still lost. But it does mean that from now on, I'll almost definitely play a hard mode every single time I play this game. And I might start looking for other ways to maybe boost the difficulty a little bit. For example, in the multiplayer game, there's an advanced rule variant that says you can add an additional goal card or additional goal cards of different suits into the game, assuming those suits are in the hand of cards. So in a solo mode, I could, I guess, have up to 4 different suit goal cards. And what that means is then that the AI would be scoring on pretty much 1 point on every card they're taking, which would give them a slight boost in score. Not a whole lot, because it's only 1 point per card, and they're not going to get that many cards in the game. They get 18 cards in the game, but it would be a boost, and that might be just enough to make them a little bit more competitive. The other option, of course, could be to give the AI a 3rd faction card, but then at 3 or 4 points a card, that could end up being really, really big differences, and that could make it extremely hard. But either way, I think there are some things that I can tweak with and play with that might increase the difficulty level a little bit. And again, it doesn't really matter that much to me, because I do really enjoy the mechanisms and the play that comes out in the game itself. And again, it's a short game. You could do beat your own score kind of solo mode, but realistically, with the varying goals every single time, I'm not sure how meaningful that would actually be. So I do like the fact that there is an AI that you're competing against. So again, does the difficulty bother me? Not so much, but it is definitely something that you should be aware of, because if it's something that you're looking for a real challenge in the game, that's not really here, at least not straight out of the box. But again, I enjoy the mechanisms here. The difficulty doesn't bother me that much. This is one that I definitely want to keep on my shelf, not just for me as solo, but I think this will be a fun one to play with family and with my students at school. So I definitely will be holding on to this one for a while. If this looks like something you'd be interested in, if you're interested in bidding, if you like that kind of trick-taking feel, if you like a spatial puzzler like I like a spatial puzzler, definitely give this one a look. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.